Hello everyone, this is Ian. In this video, we're going to be modeling a lightsaber using the random flow and creative bundle add-ons. I don't know if I made a video about lightsabers before, but let's just do it. So cylinder, I'm gonna start with more resolution than this. So double this, 64. So in real world, I think this is going to be as tall as a building. So I'd like to scale down my models after I'm done modeling with them. And we're going to create areas for top the top area where the blade will be, where the lightsaber will be emanating from, and then the bottom part and the handle. So this is our handle, and this is our top part here. And let's make it fatter. Alt S, E, S, yes, Alt S, then S for even distribution. And set this inwards. Probably make this a bit longer. So I'm going to do this. I think you can do this using the tools here, not actually distorting the topology. But I don't know how. I could actually use the knife for that. So K, we have our knife here, and then C for cut through, and then A for snapping to angles. And then we're going to delete this one and get this kind of look and create another cylinder here. I'm going to copy this, Shift D, and scale it down, bring it down, and extrude. So the normals is flipped, so select them all using L, Alt N, and flip. Then I'm going to separate this selection. Select this, and then Cuber, Alt X, Union. And then selecting this and this, Control T, and Alt J. So they're all quads because they both have the same number of edge loops. So they match perfectly. So what I did there is basically triangulate and then Control T and then Alt J to quadify. So as long as they have the same number of edge loops, they will turn out like that. And you can see here it's single object. Go to smooth. I think the handle is too small. There we go. And the switch, we're going to make the switch. We're not going to join the switch. We're just going to uh, essentially make a separate object. So Alt X. Oh no. So this is facing the wrong direction. So we're going to fix this. So 1, RZ, and then Control to snap it to degrees. Select the edge. Control E and bridge. There we go. Now for the switch. So the intersect mesh will be created where you selected an element. If you don't have any element selected, it will be created on the 3D cursor. So selecting this middle edge here. So sometimes I see depictions of the buttons here as round buttons, and then there are kind of knob locking buttons. So let's do not. I did the button locking buttons before, but let's try the knob locking buttons this time. Cylinder view. Inset. So I'm moving it in edit mode, so it's not so as not to disturb the symmetry line or this one here or the center of geometry. So you can see if I move this in object mode, the center of geometry also moves. So if I ever try to symmetrize this in the y-axis, for example, it stays in the boundary of the geometries. Whereas if I move this like that and symmetrize it, and it's not really symmetrical. So the things that I add using Mesh and or the Creative Bundle add-ons, I usually just move using in edit mode. So there's the knob looking the knob looking geometry. The knob looking geometry. Or the knob looking button. So I'm not looking at any particular reference right now. I'm just modeling this uh, by memory. It's probably to settle for this one. There we go. And just create a variation in the topology later with the randomized meshes. Actually, let's symmetrize this. Auto mirror to X. Then I'll cut on this face here. And try and codify using code slice. Let's just use this verts, tag verts, tagged and linked faces. Okay, and then extrude it in to get it to give it a bit of a design. And let's create the what's going to be the source of the S8. So this is this is called macro beveling. For the micro beveling, I like to just use the bevel modifier for that. Okay, we have our base for the. Actually, let's make the handle. Let's design the handle. I'm actually going to use. I was planning to use procedural geometry, a procedural shader, but let's just use geometry for this. Get rid of the doubles. And Control minus to select the middle edge, and Alt S to bring them towards inwards. And let's select this. And let's see if we can make it softer. There we go. So there's a bunch of verts here that are doubles. So let's get rid of them. And to make sure that we get all of them, 0.001, let's make it 0.001. It's still 640, so I think we got them all. Okay, now it's time for randomized mesh. Let's start with the inner mechanism. So in this part, I'm going to add more vertices, more edge loop to make the faces square-like. Okay, let's use link flat faces. I think you can find it in select and select length and link flat faces. You can right click and add it to the quick favorites, and that's what I have here. Link flat faces, and then let's increase this to 15 degrees, and you can see it cover the whole curving surface. So let's try my preset here. This is probably too much because it's using a base subdivision of 2 and loop subdivision of 1. So I'm going to start at 0 and just increase it slowly. So 80 to 80 here. Wait. Let's make this symmetrical, the body of the in the x-axis, because in the y-axis we have this. Let's make it symmetrical only in the x-axis. So if we use the y-axis, you can see that we have that. Link flat faces, random loop extrude, test the waters, and increase this to 0.04, 0.04, 0.014, oops, 0.14, and 0.08, so something like that. And let's get rid of the symmetry line. Let's clip the center. I'm using control middle mouse button to increase the, there we go, the value in the increments of 10. So control roll middle mouse button. I'm not using the sliding maneuver because I know that the process is already being slowed down, because when I use this, you can see that it's already lagging. So the only option for me, if it's available, is control middle mouse button or manually inputting the values to give time for Blender to think over the for Blender to think to give time for Blender to think over the process more slowly. I think we can just let it go. I think it is good. Yeah. Let's try, except for this one. I don't like this stair looking thing. Let's use 10. Size panel. Oops. Yeah, let's just use 5. And I'm going to create a wire looking. I'm going to use the tube as wire looking effect. Let's adjust the margin, the depth of the curve. Let's see, length is 10, and the offset, let's give it 0.005 and control the maximum. I'm going to give this, in the next version, I'm going to give this a another functionality which will let you, so you can see I am bounded, or the random operator is inheriting the mirror modifier of the source mesh. In the next version, I'm going to add an operator which lets you extract this part and let you ignore the symmetry of the source object and use the body of the source object to create asymmetrical results using the random operators. Basically create a proxy mesh from the source mesh, which is not using the mirror modifier. Okay, amount is 10 also. Let's look at the seed value. Shortest, none. It's probably because of the, let's try increasing the cuts. Okay, that's too much wiggle. Let's go back to number 1. Okay, let's try this. I like this. And then I can just go ahead and reuse the same operator and use the seed value to get a result that has more tubes in this area. So that you don't have to actually get everything from a single use one operator on a particular area. There we go. I think this is cool. Cool. This is good. Yeah, let's try this one. And creates panel 0.16 20.2. There we go. And increase the clip distance. Also increase this 0.25. $15 or just 10. So I covered everything here. It has a nice hidden and exposed effect there, but it completely hid everything on this side. Okay, I think we could use this. Let's try to fix the overlap using this by pulling. And in this one, what the overlap is being caused by this face. No, I think it's another tube. Yeah, it's another tube. So let's delete this one. XV. There we go. Going to try and edit the big pieces. Quad slice, tangent, verts, and 0.001. Okay, let's try and panel this. I think that's good. Let's try this one also. Okay, that's the inner mechanism. I'm bringing in more details, secondary or tertiary, because this model can be used for close-up renders, and I'm trying to give the shapes a bit more meaning by adding more details. Okay. Whereas if it were in medium to long range, then you don't have to add those secondary details or tertiary details. Let's add more topology here and link flat faces. Separate. I use the margin. Let's clip the center. It's recursive. Okay. Let's try and increase this by 0.015 or 0.02 and 0.015. To make it more obvious. To make the cuts more obvious or more prominent. Just pick one face for its surface and link flat face, and use the link flat faces to select the rest of the faces. So 15. Let's just separate them. There we go. We have certain line here. So those are doubles. And we're going to deal with this one. Let's add paneling for this part. And let's add the inner mechanism look. So 0.14, I think, is the last one I used. Let's try shortest or longest. Okay, let's try the tubes. And make another loop object. 0.24. That will create an effect of overlapping everything, but also that's gonna hide some parts. I'll also expose some of it. There we go. I think that's cool. So I don't have to add any tertiary here or secondary because the face is already too small. Okay, let's deal with this one. Add more loops. Paneling. Let's try 15. Recursive. So if you don't want paneling on these parts and just want to use all the stuff that I did, then you can choose not to. Okay, all that's left is the button part or the on switch. Let's try this one first. Actually, that's too much geometry in the back. Let's bring it closer. Give it an additional edge flow. So I'm still trying to find a solution for this one here. So as you can see, if I increase the cutoff, so 30 degrees, all sharp edges are being cut. And if I increase cutoff to 90 degrees, some of the edges are not being cut, but if an edge at that sharp angle is cut, it creates distortion on the transition between the uncut and the cut edges. So that's for future to do. But for now, you can use the seed value to find pattern that will have a less distortion. Okay. Still trying to select everything. Okay. And you can actually go and design some of this. You don't have to rely completely on the result of the randomization. You can go ahead and edit the topology afterwards. Edit the topology afterwards. And making them, for example, quantifying the ingons. So if you're using loop object, for example, especially on non-curved surfaces, you can choose to toggle this off so it remains quads. However, in curved objects, um, say this, I'm using limited dissolve because of the curvature. So if we destroy this and increase the resolution, you can see artifacts because of the, if we increase the smoothing something like 0.5, we'll get rid of some of it. Increasing this to 1 will create new distortions to 2. So this doesn't act like the subdivision modifier. So 0.5 is probably the most optimal, but still going higher and higher subdivision will of course still create those artifacts here. You might not see it. You may think, oh, I can see it using my eye. I can't really see it, but when you start baking the normals, this will become really obvious on those bakes. So when I use limited dissolve, there, it's gone. But in order to reuse this for the um, random operators, this has to be quads. So I'm going to use quad slice or grid slice. Something like that. Quad slice. And it starts to fail because it's no longer straight. So that's just one of the weaknesses of the tools that you should know. But if you, of course, use it for a long time, then you'd know how to mix and match stuff, optimize stuff for curved and uncurved surfaces. Probably too much. Inset. Select this face loop. And inset back. There we go. Inset back. We're going to use. Okay. I think we are done with it. No. I'm going to extract this. So the operator I'm telling you about is going to be like the get poly in ice tools. Extract this, and then quad slice. Ooh, there's a lot of geo. I think we can work with this. We don't have to use subdivision, and also no subdivision for this one. And 5% island size. Let's increase the inset value. Let's try radial. Let's create another one. Let's gonna toggle on original only, so they will only be sourced at the original, not from the. So loop 2 will be sourced from the original object, much like loop 1 object. Let's increase the subdivision here and hope it doesn't crash. Okay. Looks good on this side, but doesn't look good on the other side. So let's try paneling. No. Okay. Probably not. Okay, let's try and shade this. Create a primer shading for this or a basic shading for this. You can use to add dirt or grunge afterwards. So selecting everything. I'm going to select the tubes first. Shift G, type. That selects all the cubes, and I'm going to convert them into mesh, and then select them everything, mesh, random V color, click on value, set the saturation to 0, so I only have black and something. So I'm using hard gradient. So this toggle is different. It's much like random loop extrude, where you shift click to add or remove. So if you just click, but if you shift click, it adds, shift click, it removes. Okay, I'm just going to use value, and the HG stops means that right now I only have 2 HG stops of value or higher gradient stops, so that means that it's only going to use the values between minimum and the maximum. So in this case 0 and max. So that's my first step is the 0 minimum, and second step is the maximum 1. However, if I use 3 steps, it's going to divide the values between 0 and 1 and create 3 evenly spaced a color stop, color, what the, colors, color stamp. Uh, I forgot the term for that. Color, dear God, color ramp stamps. So 3 color ramp stamps. So for example, if I increase this to 0.4, so there's going to be 3 stops between 0.4 and 1. So it divides the values between them by 3 and evenly space them to create the color stops. And then we're going to it's probably too dark, it's 0.4. And too light, 0.8 or 0.9. Okay. In Cuber, there's a vertex color system also. We can use it to copy this one here, copy, and set vertex color. This system will remain even when I change the tools to the creative flow, because I think it's very useful. And for this one, you can actually assign, let's pick the inner edge here, Control plus, or that's too much, probably not. So edge here, the boundary edges, and then another edge here, and select inner loop region, select bigger, and in edit mode set it to darker. Okay. Okay, let's add a new material for all of them. And because they have the vertex color, let's use the vehicle matte to assign the vertex color. Before we do anything else, I'm going to add a or multiply an ambient occlusion after the attribute node. AO multiply 1, just to make the spaces between the objects darker, or the meshes darker. And then we're going to use the color as, or the color variation as the roughness. Invert this, add a color ramp here, and wait for the effect. And wait for Eve to process. Okay, now we have this. It's probably too bright. Nah. Let's use HDRI. Okay. I'm going to append my simple dirt. You can see this menu because I didn't record the full window. Simple dirt, converter group, simple dirt. Too much dirt. Probably use the AOS rust. And maybe use this one as rest also. By the way, this is free. Is in my Patreon, the shader. Oh, the group node. It's in um, patreon.com/blenderguppy. So instead of creating a shader for the bevel, so for the micro bevel, I'm going to create it using the bevel modifier. So we'll use 1 and 0.002 and add weighted normal, and then new control click on the new button, and then use bevel as use material as bevel material. So you can see the bevel material is there. So let's increase the width to 0.003 and see if there's any distortions. So you can see the white part there. So you have to actually edit the different shader just to give this let's do it. Let's actually do it. After we finish with the let's give this part a different shader. Copy. So it's separated from the metal one. From the metallic part. All you have to do to switch between different materials is to select the faces that they're assigned to. That's too much rust. Okay, 4.9. And then we're going to actually join this in the bevel material. Hopefully get a much better transition. Copy it. And here, Control V. So the only disadvantage about this is if you change the main material, you have to change this part also. Mix. And mix factor is noise. So let's try and see the effect. Sit then. Mix shader. So if I go, no, it's not showing anything. Don't crash. There we go. So it's kind of mixing. What it does is it's mixing on the primary material underneath. It's not perfect, and it's also reliant on the bevel width, but let's increase this to 20 and roughness to 1. Oh, let's change the colorization or the vertex color of this. Points 8 or 0.5 is the minimum. Just a bit of manually added lights. Oops. Let's try a bit of different lighting. Okay, let's create the blade. Cursor toward the origin. Cylinder. The lightsaber blade. 25. Too much. 15. And then going to add a mix material, another emission here. This time using a darker blue or more saturated blue input. Let's use layer weight node and Fresnel and color ramp and adjust the color ramp. There we go. Actually, let's make it thicker. Yeah, that's how you make the um, basic lightsaber, just like that, using the layer weight node. Let's try another lighting. Let's create a lamp. I want to see the make it a sun. Color management to major high contrast. Okay, let's cursor selected. Add empty. Where's my empty? There we go. So this is probably a tallest building, so I'm not gonna scale it yet. Shift GT, select the empty and parent. Let's create a ground. Region points. Only locations. What's that? Is that new? Whoa. Oops. Aluminum. So I'm gonna hire this up. My laptop is almost out of. So reduce the roughness. Decrease the color. Actually, let's use. I'm going to use texture for this. Again, you're not gonna see the menu. And frame it. Home. It is big. Wait, view. Set this to 5. And let's increase the ambient occlusion to provide shadow for this part here. Or maybe isolate it in this part here. Probably. So color mix, ambient occlusion, AO, come on, multiply, color ramp. Yes, you can do it. Oh no, only local. Nope. Inside. Nope. 10. Nah, doesn't work that way. Where's the AO? Distance. There we go. Look at this part here. It's 2 meters, so it's bigger than your normal. So at this stage, you can see that just a bit more work, and we can really amplify the believability of this. Need more work on the Actually, let's try, and it's gonna slow things down, but let's try adding this as a bump. So procedural, if you use procedural textures for bump, it's going to slow down Blender. So just be mindful of this. Slow down the viewport as you navigate. So if you want that effect, only attach it when you are ready to render. So that increased, because using bumps will increase the effect of both the metallicity of both the metallic and roughness properties of the material. Okay, so that's our lightsaber. Let's introduce track lights, depth of field, 10. Okay, so that is it for this video. Where's the empty? And I hope you learned something from this, and hopefully take away something like making the lightsaber effects and all that. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, contact me in the links in the description, or use the comment section. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.